It's a good day to play football indoors because outside it is raining hard. It is dry and 69 inside the Hoosier Dome. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jim Nantz. No, these two teams played last year in the final game of the regular season right here in the Hoosier Dome. The Colts won on that day to capture the AFC Eastern Division title. It's a totally different story this year as we approach the midway point of the 1988 season.
With a minute one left, the whole game rides on this play. 4th and 2. The pass incomplete. John Holt on the coverage of Bruce Hill, who is pleading his case for an interference call. The Colts will take over. Herculean-type numbers posted by Testaverde today. 25 of 42 passing, 469 yards and 2 touchdowns. But again, it's going to be a gut-wrenching defeat for this young team. They'll walk away learning something from this again, I'm sure. An outstanding afternoon for that man, number 14, Vinny Testaverde. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fall 4 points short. For Pat Hayden, this is Jim Nantz saying so long.
Well, that was just the beginning. October 1988. The graphics and teams might have changed, but the voice of Jim Nantz has been a staple with CBS for 21 years. Check the numbers for yourself. Some of the network's biggest and best games of his career. 69 playoff games, 7 Super Bowls, and 20 AFC championship games. He'll get 21 in a couple of weeks the closer we get to that. But take a look at it. I mean, you can add one more game as well, because it will be 500 this weekend when the Broncos and Bills meet there in the first round of the postseason. And Jim Nantz, of course, will be on the call like we've seen for so long. Well, we're talking about him, so it's only right that we have the man himself here chatting with us here on HQ, and he's all laughs and smiles. We got you a little bit there, Jim.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, though, 500 games under your belt, no small task. Give me some of those highlights that you remember over this time.
Well, you just played one of them, and I have to tell you, that's the first time I've ever seen that, and you shocked me with it. I can't even believe that someone was able to dig that out of the archives from 1988. So that's just moved to the head of the class. Little did I know back then that I would someday reach a half 1,000 games and have all these opportunities to call Super Bowls and playoff games. It's been a thrill. I think you have to go back to, the Super Bowls are the biggest event in television, and the one we had most recently, just this past February, the most watched show in the history of television by quite a bit, the overtime win by Kansas City over San Francisco. I'd have to put that right at the head of the class. But some of the other playoff games that really stood out for me would be the Buffalo Kansas City game. Remember this a few years ago in the divisional round that went to overtime? 42-36. Peyton and the Colts beating the Patriots 38-34 in the 06 championship game. And then I would go to the Hail Marys. I've been so fortunate just to be on site for 3 game-ending walk-off Hail Mary heaves. One all the way back 30-plus years ago with Billy Joe Tolliver of the Falcons. Aaron Rodgers on one of our Thursday night games up in Detroit. Hail Mary at the wire, the pass that almost hit the rafters. He threw it so hard, so high, and so long. And then, of course, the one this year with Jaden Daniels. So there's just top of mind, a few highlights. But every game is its own highlight and its own story, and I feel blessed to have been at so many of them.
By the way, that Chiefs and Bills, we remember Tracy Wolfson is still running across trying to get those post-game interviews
Yes.
there. For number 500, you'll have another one with Josh Allen here, another good one where he has a chance to win that MVP. He's in that conversation based on what we've seen here in Buffalo, doing a lot more with less. But what have you seen from him, and what has he shown to you that he might be able to come away with that award?
Well, I think there was a drastic change this year in terms of giving the ball away. He committed so few turnovers. And that was a stark difference from the years past. He was more careful, more in control of things, and he only got sacked 14 times, fewest times in the league. So they put up some startling numbers late in the year. The game where he, right here, the one you're showing, where he threw a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, and caught his own pass for a touchdown against the 49ers. And then to come back and have the 3-touchdown game rushing, you're seeing here against the Rams, plus 3 touchdown passes for a total of 6. and then to lead them to the win up in Detroit. They, of course, beat both of the number one seeds during the regular season. I would say right now, if I had to handicap it, I would say he's a slight favorite, but Lamar's season is just off the charts, and numbers that are truly never before seen when you talk about touchdown to interception ratio and rushing yards and 4,000 yards, and it's going to be a close call. Of course, this is a regular season award, and there's a chance these two will meet next week in the divisional round up in Buffalo. But I would say right now that I think Josh has the edge by just a touch.
When you look at the Bills, of course, they're always great in the regular season, but the question mark sometimes we have, can they get over the hump, that hump being Kansas City? I mean, when you think about these two, are they possibly on a collision course come this postseason?
It sure looks like it. And, of course, we were there November 15th when Kansas City played at Buffalo, and the Bills handed them their first loss. But I think the hurdle really for the Bills, and you can never look past anyone in this league, especially a team coached by Sean Payton. They've got their hands full this week with the Broncos team that I just had a chance to witness on Sunday. Obviously, they were going against the kind of the second string unit from Kansas City, and they blew them out. But Bo Nix is really legit. Sean Payton's one of the great coaches in the game. I hate to project, but I think the hurdle for the Bills is that divisional round. It's going to be, if they win against Denver, it'll be the third straight year they've hosted the divisional playoff game, and they've lost the previous two. One to Cincinnati, and then last year to Kansas City. So you used to always say, just get them home field. So they don't have to go on the road to try to get to the Super Bowl. Well, they've had that home field the last 2 years in the divisional round and lost. And next week, there looms Baltimore, a team that roughed them up early in the season, 35-10, I believe it was. And that's going to be some monster matchup if we see it next week.
The only thing standing in their way right now happens to be the Broncos, and this is the first time the postseason since that Super Bowl you called, Super Bowl 50 on CBS. Some would say that Denver is playing with house money this year. A lot of people didn't have them in projections at this point, but they're here. What have you seen from Sean Payton in this group so far?
Well, the season for them is a success no matter what happens. And yes, the last time they were in the postseason, we were giving Peyton the Lombardi Trophy, February 7th, 2016. I'll never forget it. The Golden Game, the 50th Super Bowl. Von Miller was the MVP that day. That was Peyton's final appearance in his legendary career. But this team this year, I see a defense that is unheralded. We're watching offensive snaps right now. And listen, when you've got Sean Payton calling plays, you know it's going to be, there's going to be some exciting stuff. He's got his quarterback. There's no question he feels like he's found his Drew Brees. But what I really like about this team, too, is their defense. You look at the 29 touchdown passes by Bo Nix, second best of all time. He had 4 on Sunday against Kansas City. But this defense, other than Pat Surtain, most people can't name 1 or 2 other guys on the defense. They led the league in sacks this year. It's going to be a neat little matchup inside of the game. Is the best sack team in the league against the team that gave up the fewest sacks. And they're hungry. They're young, and they play together cohesively like every coach would dream of. And, yes, they are playing with house money. I agree with that statement.
Speaking of that matchup, I want to dive a little deeper into Denver's defense, because on the opposite side, you got to deal with Joe Brady, one of Peyton's old assistants on the offensive side. How will that kind of play out? And these are some of the numbers you actually mentioned when it's in terms of those sack numbers. Well,
the Joe Brady matchup, that's a really solid question, because Joe took over as the play caller coordinator last November. And you look at their record since then. Of course, one of the losses they would have been the loss week 18 to New England, when they didn't really play their starters and Josh Allen only played 1 snap. But Joe Brady learned a lot from Sean Payton. And that little matchup inside the matchup is not to be ignored. I think Joe Brady's a big part of the success of the Bills, and being able to establish James Cook as a threat in this league, and being able to develop some outside guys. Keon Coleman's coming on, their second-round pick, who missed some time during the season with a wrist injury. But Khalil Shakir's turned into a player. Dalton Kincaid is a guy they can rely on. They've been able to pass the ball around many, many ways. Dog Ramsey's hungry right now, by the way. My dog Ramsey can't wait for the game. It's just getting all excited like I am. But it's going to be a beautiful matchup.
Well, Jim, before I let you go, I'm sure Ramsey has a pregame routine. I'm curious, before you get ready for 500, what's the routine we all want to know before you get ready for this milestone?
I'm going to go in Thursday, so I'll be there for, 3 nights before the game. Take it all in. I love the scene in Buffalo. And we'll meet with the Bills in person on Friday. We'll meet with the Broncos in person on Saturday. And then my routine really is to get to the stadium right at the very beginning of the day. I'm one of the first to arrive, along with Jim Rickoff and Mike Arnold, our producer and director, great friends, great pals, longtime colleagues. We get there depending on where the game is played, 1 o'clock or 4:25, usually 4 to 5 hours before kickoff. And we come over here. We just let the stadium come to life. Something I really enjoy is watching a stadium dead still, no one in it, and all of a sudden just, if you can do the high speed replay of a stadium filling up, I like to watch it in real time. Just watch people come, the excitement, the appreciation. I feel like I'm tied to that first time I ever went to a game, 1967. The Sugar Bowl, Tulane Stadium in New Orleans. The Saints franchise debut. New Orleans against the Los Angeles Rams. I was 8 years old. My dad took me to the game. We got standing room only tickets. And the opening kickoff for the Saints was returned for a touchdown by John Gilliam. What a way to launch a franchise. I was there to be an eyewitness to it. And I still have inside of me all these years later, 500 games later. That's right. It's worth barking about. It really is. I still have that little boy appreciation of being able to have a ticket to the game. And that's what I feel more than anything is gratitude, a grateful heart.
That's awesome. From 1967 to 1988 to 2024. And here's to 500 more for you, Jim. Appreciate it as always. Stopping by HQ, my friend. Take care.
You're the best. I really appreciate it. Anytime I get a chance to visit with you, thank you for being so prepped and researched and listening so well. I appreciate you very much, man.
Absolutely. Stay warm in Buffalo for us.
I will. Ramsey sends best wishes.
See you,
Time
Ramsey.
for a walk.
Take care, Jim. So while he takes Ramsey on a walk, guess what? We're going to prep you a little bit more postseason coming for you on Saturday. You got the Chargers and Texans, and then, of course, on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you'll have a big one. Josh Allen, one of those MVP favorites against Bo Nix, maybe Rookie of the Year, and what he's done for Denver on CBS and also on Paramount+.